Welcome back, traders, to my market outlook on index futures for the week of December 27th. This will be the last market outlook of 2025. We only have a few more days before the end of the year. I hope you all have had a pretty nice holiday week last week, but with only a few more days left, you expect the market to maybe go sideways and we not have any good trades, but we could potentially have one more before the year ends. So let's go ahead and get into the chart and take a look. All right, so I'm looking at S&P on the weekly chart, and I have the buy side here at all-time high. Last week, we did go up above this high over here, taking out some buy side liquidity, but I think we can push for some more. Because if you look at the past few weeks, this week in particular, we went down into this weekly fair value gap. Actually, we went down lower. We went into this weekly order block, but we stayed in the upper half of it. And then as we started moving away, that was giving me bullish signals that we may go for new all-time highs. And then with the close of last week, we created a volume imbalance here. You can see there is space between the bodies of these weekly candles. So let's go ahead and jump into the daily chart, take a closer look here. We do have all-time highs above here. These highs are kind of close, but really we peaked above this one just a little bit. So I'm looking for a target above this high right here. Now zooming in a little closer, I do have sell side down here, but ignore that. I am not looking for price to come down there. In fact, you can see I have my last line of defense as this fair value gap. I will love it if we stayed in the upper half of this fair value gap, but we may not even drop that much because we are already pretty close to our target, and we have one fair value gap here and one fair value gap here. So it's a little hard to say that we're going to go through all these fair value gaps just to get back here, but we could. So that's why I have this as my last line of defense. But either way, I expect price to maybe retrace to this fair value gap or this one. It's a little bit bigger. And then I want to see price shoot up for the buy side target. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into Nasdaq and going into the weekly chart. All right, so Nasdaq on the weekly chart, I have sell side down here, but like I said, I'm not really looking for price to go down. So pretty much just ignore this. We have two levels of buy side, of course, the all-time high. And then we also have these relative equal highs on the weekly. So these are going to be my two buy side target. This is kind of like, I wish it would happen target, but this is going to be the low hanging fruit, the high probability profit taking area. And with the close up last week, you can see that we do have a gap between the bodies of these candles. So here is my weekly volume imbalance. And I don't really expect price to come back down into this wick. It could, but really, I don't really want to see that. Ideally, we just go into this weekly volume imbalance and then we go for our target. So let's get that right down into the daily chart. And here, zooming out, you can see we have the all-time high here. Yeah, maybe it can happen. That would be like a dream come true. But below here, we have a daily fair value gap that was never tapped into. And just below this daily fair value gap, we have all these highs, all these equal highs. So a lot of buy side liquidity in this area. So this will be the high probability, low hanging fruit target to go for. We also have this volume balance. I think I mentioned this last week, but I don't want to see this offer any resistance whatsoever. But starting off the week, there's only 3 more days before New Year. So I would expect most of the price action to happen on Monday, Tuesday, and maybe we finish it off on Wednesday. But I first want to see price retrace back into the weekly volume imbalance. And then here is a large suspension block. So let me go ahead and show you. There is a gap between the bodies of these candles and a gap between the bodies of these candles. So this body on this candle is suspended. And so this is going to be a pretty bullish fair value gap. My last line of defense, if you want to call it. I don't want to see price go below this fair value gap. We can go into the weekly volume balance. I would like it to stay in the upper half and pretty much just shoot up straight for these equal highs for the buy side target and get into this daily fair value gap. Of course, it could go more. It could go for new all-time highs, but that's not what I'm going to be looking for. I don't want to get too greedy and just look for some kind of long setup here going for these highs. Again, remember guys, this video is not financial advice. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. These are just my opinions of some random guy on YouTube. But that is going to do it, guys. This is going to be the last one of 2025. And, you know, I think going into 2026, I'm going to look back at all the market outlooks that I've done and see, well, how accurate were my predictions. So look forward to that. Make sure you subscribe, like this video, and until next time, safe trading.